Bases dropped. We're not going to waste any time. We're just going to lead off with a badass, courtesy of our friends at BR Sports.
It's Jade Rose, the 21-year-old from Harvard. Scored against Brazil in Atlanta. Nair with a save! Nair thumps it home! And the stadium erupts! Steps to the spot. Nair with a save once more! The goalkeeper for the big moment!
Yes, she is. Alyssa Nair continues to certify herself as an original American badass. And morning, Alex. So She Believes Cup, for those of you that were celebrating last night, it was Brazil winning in PKs in the early match, winning 3-0 in PKs. Bit of a surprise there. Then you get to the nightcap. And the United States is having a back and forth with Canada. 2-2. You get to PKs because there was no extra 30. They just went ahead and went straight to PKs. And I'm going to say it right now. The save, score, save sequence with Alyssa Nair is one of the most cold-blooded things you can ever have happen to you as a team. So Alyssa Nair saves once again, and the numbers came out that she has 6 PK saves versus Canada against 6 different players. That's doing homework. That's having notes on water bottles. That's having tape on the inside of your wrist. 6 different players, 6 saves. So she saves the first one. And then she's just like, I'm going to do this myself. Then it goes into the back of the net. And then the second time around, the shooter that came up for the second save in that 3 highlight sequence did not look interested at all. Did not look like they wanted to be within 50 miles of that place. So the save, score, I'm going to do this myself, save. I mean, and that's just nasty. And so the U.S. once again, and Alyssa Nair and Emily Sonnet now become the 2 players that have won She Believes Cup 7 times for the United States. So, yes, Alyssa Nair just was, I mean, we could be hyperbolic about it. But, yeah, she was Alyssa Nair. And it's almost, in these situations, it's like, all right, what's she going to do now? And last night, what did she do for the United States to go on and win She Believes Cup? She went ahead once again, saved the bacon in the PKs. But, yeah, the I'll save it, I'll do it myself, and then I'll save it again. That sequence is just profoundly ridiculous. And so the United States once again gets through a tournament. Alyssa Nair, yikes. And I know that we all saw on social media, it's Minister of Defense and these kinds of things. And so it was completely and totally sideways with Alyssa Nair last night. So I'll go ahead and say it. First off, sorry it was 9:06 because I was trying to load the highlights and a couple of other things to let you know about what's going on today. So that officially is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Good to know that Melissa Ortiz yesterday, when she came on, it was like, yeah, I'm one of the co-founders. And so that was pretty cool. So there's your QR code for those of you who are watching. However you are accessing us, whether it is on the 280-character app on Twitch or on the YouTube's live. Once again, you go to that QR code, you click through it, you kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee. See what I did there? You kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee. Use that QR code. Then you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiative, stuff that they have earmarked as being incredibly cool. And that's at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, housekeeping. This is the scarf from our to help benefit our friends at the Marshall Islands and the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. If you want to be part of something from the ground up and show your support for the last country on the planet to start a national soccer program, You pick that up from us. DM me. You can, email me, DM the show, email the show, however you want to do it. Reach out to me, text, carrier pigeon, whatever, and we'll get this to you. 32. If you're on the Discord, you get to fill out a form, and the Appster Mobile can send it to can bring it to you. So 32 helps out the foundation if you want it shipped, and we've shipped to California. We've shipped to our buddy Hudson in Colorado. We've shipped to Alabama to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation at another 5. So 32 and 5 if you want it shipped. 32 if you want to pick it up from Abby, say at the supporters tailgate, or if you want to have it done that way. And in-person delivery is 32. If you want to put in the mail, it's 32 plus 5. So that way you get to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation and be a part of something from the ground up. You can go to their website, by the way, and they have an app on Android. I don't know about iPhone because I'm an Android guy, and if I tried to look for an iPhone app on an Android phone, I don't think that'd go well. So it was, you can click on the app and you get to see in the merchandise section, you get to see our Maddie Cruz on the 1s and 2s promoting said scarf. So she's part of an international campaign, our morning show producer. So once again, 32 if you want to pick it up in person or have it delivered in person, 32 plus 5 if you want it mailed to you. All right, traffic. This morning, it is obviously a Wednesday, and on Wall Pass Wednesday, what we like to do is we like to catch up with our buddy Tyler Pilgrim. That'll come up in just a few seconds once I finish this opening monologue and let you know what else is going on. Then if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler will be at 10 o'clock. 10:30, this one's really cool. We actually added Central America to our locations to do interviews, and it's to catch up with our friends at the U.S. men's national futsal team as they're trying to get ready to take CONCACAF by storm, starting group play in the CONCACAF Futsal Championships this weekend as they're trying to get another berth in the World Cup. And we caught up with Rapha Araujo, and this is a really cool interview. Born in Brazil, raised in New Jersey, part of the squad, plays for the St. Louis Ambush in the Major Arena Soccer League. And so we caught up with him before practice yesterday to kind of preview everything and let you know what's going on down there in Nicaragua as they get ready for group stage coming up in short order. So that's going to be in hour number 2. We'll go through stuff with Tyler. We're going to talk about Atlanta United. We're going to talk about the article that came out in The Athletic where we might have some new rules of financial engagement. Remember, Arthur Blank said that he was interested in, perhaps opening up the spending a little bit at the groundbreaking for the Arthur M. Blank National Training Center the other day. So we'll go over those new rules of engagement, anything else on Tyler's mind. And so that's the rundown of the show tonight. And thanks to everybody who reached out to us last night with East Jackson and Winder Barrow, our first visit to the DOGGs at Winder Barrow High School. Really cool non-region rivalry matchup between a AA school and a 5A school. East Jackson and Winder Barrow played earlier this year in match week 2, and they played this week as well to settle the 2 draws that they had earlier this season. So really cool to be up there last night. Tonight, one match, boys match, Druid Hills McIntosh at McIntosh, 7:45 kick. So we'll probably be on 7:40. Jason and I will be down there in Peachtree City for you for that one. Weather permitting tomorrow, we are supposed to be in Decatur to do St. Pius in Decatur. If you're watching Weather Channel or your favorite weather personalities, might be dicey, might be heavy, and you might be spending a lot of time indoors tomorrow. But the plan is St. Pius at Decatur tomorrow for the doubleheader, 5:30, 7:30. And then Friday, Johnson Gainesville at Gainesville, City Park. We get to see how the renovations are at City Park. And we'll get to figure out how we're going to call a match and see how things are. Because they blew out the entire 3-story press box viewing facility, private boxes kind of thing. And that's being renovated at City Park and getting it ready for football season, American football season. So we'll see where things are with Johnson, Gainesville, and Gainesville on Friday. So McIntosh tonight, weather permitting, Decatur tomorrow, and then City Park in Gainesville on your Friday. Okay, I filibustered past 9:15. I made it. And so what that means is we get to check in with our buddy Tyler Pilgrim. So first and foremost, what's in the mug?
Coffee, as usual.
Well, yes, and what is the mug, sir?
The mug. I solemnly swear I am up to no good.
Absolutely perfect.
Classic.
as it should be. And my follow-up question to all of that, sir, is how is the car?
It's we're still dealing with it. It's a cosmic joke at this point.
I'm right there with you.
Get a car worked on, get it back. Same
Mhm.
problem. Send it
Yes,
back.
yes. I can relate with the beast, the past incarnation in the driveway, a 1997 Toyota Camry that finished up with 368,000 miles on it.
Woo.
It got to that point to where you were trying to sit there and just kind of maintain your way through it. It's like, okay, I know it's going to the mechanic. And then you're trying to sit there and you're thinking of profit and loss. It's like, okay, is my level of investment in the old car worth it to keep the old car plus the sentimental value that's attached? Or am I really looking at my apps and I'm trying to sit here and say, well, let's see, if I go to this website, I can buy this and maybe not afford this. And yeah.
Yep.
When do we get to the point of diminished returns?
I've done so much math in the past like 72 hours with this stupid car and the other cars that we have. I'm genuinely ready to sell every vehicle I own and just buy a horse. I'll probably
Oh,
get anywhere quicker in Atlanta anyway because I can just bypass all the traffic.
true.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. It's still
Uh,
there. I'm waiting to go pick it up again.
oh man.
If anybody
So,
knows a great mechanic in the Atlanta area, please let me know.
well, I have a great mechanic, but it is, and I can is your car foreign or domestic, sir?
It is domestic. It is a
Okay, so
Dodge.
that is the first problem because he is a Japanese motorsports aficionado. So my buddy Dale, who does tremendous work for the Beast and Buddies and things like that, yes, he is a foreign car aficionado, and he knows what he's up to in all of that stuff. All right, so we got a couple of different topics that we can get into this morning when it comes to what we want to lead off. So
what do you guys want to talk about?
all right, so what do you want to lead off with?
I mean, do you want to dive into the rule changes?
Oh,
Go ahead
sure.
and
Yeah, we'll
get
get
that out
into
of the way.
the rule changes, and this came out this morning for those of you who have not had the chance to delve into the Athletic, and it was a piece, and we have, I'm sure you guys have. You're sitting there going, things need to change when it comes to the rules of engagement in Major League Soccer. And there's frustration with Atlanta United fans. There's frustration with, I think any fan that has an owner that is willing to spend, and you are stuck with these roadblocks of, well, you only have 3 DPs. You only have a salary structure that is low 7 figures. Yes, it was raised 8% to the level of this year, but you're still talking somewhere in the neighborhood of just under $4 million for your cap. Then you're looking at, okay, how do we handle the roster movement up and down? Kind of wish it would be like the NBA, where if you've got an injury or you've got a tournament perhaps that you might want to win a trophy in, you'd want to bring guys up and down fairly freely, but you can't quite do that right yet. So Paul Tenorio, for those of you who have the subscription to said Athletic, voted on several rule changes. Major League Soccer, they had their Board of Governors meeting out in Los Angeles, expected to be implemented for the upcoming summer transfer window. And you get the multiple sources briefing Paul, telling him this. So 3 major changes to the rules: an alteration to the DP and U22 initiative spending and roster construction, an increase in the number of contract buyouts, and increasing benefits of player sales. Obviously, this is just stuff that they're suggesting, and you've got to get the approval of the PA before you can do anything like this. And Jared Smith will be hopping in now to help us break stuff down as well. So you're looking at, once approved, alterations add layers of funding to general team spending. You're looking at DP and U22 initiative changes. So now, here are the options. Currently, you've got 3 senior DPs, but you can only have 1 U22. Teams with 2 senior DPs and 1 young DP, and this is where math is involved, and this is where our head hurts.
Yep.
2 senior DPs and 1 young DP, or a DP that can be bought down with TAM, you can have up to 3 U22s. New rules, and we'll take them one at a time. Teams can have either 3 DPs and 3 U22s, or they can have 2 DPs, 4 U22s, and $2 million in GAM. And so the idea is that you could have greater flexibility in building your squad. So you can go max 3 DPs and 3 U22s, or go one less DP, have one more U22, still adding up to the number 6, and $2 million in Garber bucks. What say you, Tyler Pilgrim?
It's a step in the right direction. I mean, I think of teams that go after the latter option, the 2 DPs and the 4 U22s, and I'm like, you got to have some cojones to pull that off, because you never know what you're getting with some of these U22s. And granted, I mean, it's a low risk and potentially high reward, but if you can get 4 Edwin Mosqueras, then you're doing okay. But
you're bringing a Thiago Almada at the age of 19.
Well, that too, 100%. I'll take that all day. But I mean, yeah, it's a step in the right direction. The 3 DPs, 3 U22s, to me, that just makes sense. If you're going to do anything short of just like taking the ropes off completely, make it so that you don't have to do as much math trying to figure out who you're going to be bringing on. 3 DPs, 3 U22s, keep it simple. Then you have the option to really, really go and hit on your DPs, because we all know in this league, those are the guys that are going to make the biggest difference, or should make the biggest difference. But you don't want to stifle like the ability to bring in young talent, and then potentially I go back to Edwin Mosquera. I mean, who knows how he plays out over the 4 years that he's here, but he's doing okay so far. And for that not to really hit your cap in a significant way, and then you can develop that talent, and who knows, if he likes it at that club, at this club, whatever, then you keep him and he becomes an integral part of the club. But it gives you a little bit of options, and I like options.
So, Jarrett, 3 plus 3 or 2 plus 4 and $2 million in Garber bucks. What do you think?
I think we're still overcomplicating things to a ridiculous degree. It is a step in the right direction. I agree completely. It's a step towards expanding out spending and getting flexibility and options. And I agree with Tyler. Like, it's ballsy if you can go that route with the U22s, mostly because, as we remind people a lot, this isn't FIFA. Real life isn't FIFA.
What?
Dang it.
I mean, in the game, it's great. Yeah, you can hey, man, I built my academy out. I got a bunch of dudes who are 21 years old. All of them rated over at 80 and wanted by everybody in the world. We're just winning Champions League, and we're all 22, 23 years old. None of us can rent a car. It doesn't work that way in the real world. You have to have a roster balance of having guys who kind of have that hashtag veteran presence. And yeah, it's risky in those moments. But yeah, to his point, if you can pull it off, you can make some hay. It's just gonna be tricky to do it. But I'm glad you're expanding things. I hope they don't move in the direction of we're going to expand spending. Okay, here's 5 new rules. These 5 new rules each trigger 10 new rules, unless, of course, the moon is in a waning gibbous, in which case there are 8 new rules.
You ain't kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Alex beat you to it with Mars being in retrograde as a part of this whole thing. But yeah,
I cannot wait to see how teams try and cheat this. It's going to be amazing. And don't think your team won't try. None of you are above it. Don't pretend you are.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And if you're not trying, then you're not, quoting the great Jim Rome, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And it's only cheating if you get caught. Notably, teams with 2 DPs will get just $1 million in extra Garber bucks this season, because the rules would be implemented halfway through the season. 4 of the 29 teams are using all 3 DP spots in a way that previously allowed just for 1 U22. And this might be what Gary Smith might be looking for in the summer window. Nashville, the Revs, Orlando, and FC Cincinnati right now are in the 3+1 category, the 3 full DPs, the 1 U22. They would be able to sign more U22s once the new rule is implemented. So this might be I could see Gary Smith outside the hotel in Los Angeles, make this, sign this now, sign this. He's got signs on the he's got big signs like it's say anything.
He can ask for whatever changes in structure he wants. Nashville actually has to go and sign the players that fit what they do and actually play them, because I remind you, besides Sean Davis from Red Bulls, which was a damn good get, he is currently collecting dust on the bench between Lord of our Son, Brian Anunga, Charleston Battery legend.
Yes.
So he actually has to play those guys.
Oh, we can't have that, Jarrett. We can't have that kind of logic here. That's just not allowed.
It's too much thinking. It's like math.
Yeah.
Well, they got to figure out that they don't even have a backup plan right now.
No.
Because guess what? Their team's manager's gone.
Yes, that is true. Jack Collison. We still don't know the whole 411 on that from yesterday, but that was a bombshell that dropped during the show.
Joe, I love Tom Radononga. Tom Radononga is just I love him for what he is, but him consistently starting over Sean Davis is amazing to me because of Davis's just freakish abilities athletically on the ball. I'm blown away by that decision, but Tom Radononga right up there for me with Charleston Battery legends, Forrest Lasso, Leland Archer as well. The good old days.
Yes, absolutely.
Before the good nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. For what it's worth, if you want to play like the styles make fights thing about how Nashville plays, the assistant who's taken over for the Huntsville team,
Our next pros, yeah.
Yeah. His last stop was as a first-team coach at Livingston. If you don't know, Livingston is a club in Scotland. They have by far the smallest budget in the Scottish First Division.
Mm-hmm.
Their manager, before he took the job, did an extended stint in prison.
Correct.
For fraud and for racketeering, if I'm not mistaken. He'd gotten involved in organized crime to a degree. Got out, got himself cleaned up, got his life turned around, and started working there part-time as I think part of the grounds crew, and then got his licenses and became the first team and worked his way up to becoming the first team manager. It's very much stylistically similar to what Gary does. So I would assume they'll be doing some of that.
With less money.
Yeah, honestly, might be comparable.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, might be comparable when you factor in the kids coming down from Nashville. Man, Livy's going to get relegated this year in Scotland, and the fact that it took them this long to get relegated, it's going to be years to get relegated, is an absolute triumph of brilliant stupidity by David Martindale to keep them above water. But stylistically, your interim, more in that Gary Smith mold. We do wish Jack the best wherever he's going. Jack's a very fun human being. He is also an insane manager who operates with the idea of if I can't win if I don't score a lot of goals, so I'm going to go try and score a lot of goals, and you love to see it.
And be Johnny Cash in 90-degree weather and matching humidity in the middle of the summer up in Kennesaw. He's dressed from black from head to toe.
Yeah, where's Lasso's dead?
Yeah, he looks like he belongs in John Wick.
Yeah, well,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so Rich, it happened this time yesterday. It happened during the show yesterday when the announcement was made during hour number 2. So Jarrett, is Livy the one that plays at the Spaghetti Hod? Is that the one? Is that the team that plays at Tony Macaroni Stadium?
Yes.
And they call it the
Scotland.
Yeah.
Tony Macaroni is basically the Scottish version of Olive Garden, for lack of a better comparison.
Yep.
Tony Macaroni is a chain of Italian restaurants. The Livingston plays at the Tony Macaroni Arena, except it's about to change the name. I think the sponsorship deal is running out, which is a damn shame, because for the longest time, we have referred to the Tony Macaroni Arena, and we, meaning the royal we, not just me, but Scottish soccer Twitter, it is the Spaghetti Hut.
Yes. Fantastic.
And it is just this tiny-ass stadium with, field turf that looks like you ripped it out of central Costa Rica.
Yeah. So Herediano's turf made it to the Spaghetti Hut for Livingston, and
everyone complains about
you're playing in something the size of 12 Oaks, basically, is what you're saying. Is that you're playing at 12
Oaks? The field size is fine. The turf is not great.
Still better than a baseball field.
It is still better than a baseball field. You are not incorrect, sir.
Yes. So Alex, with a question to the floor, what's going to be the carrot to get the MLSPA to approve either 3+3 or 2+4 with $2 million in Garber bucks in the U22s? DPs and the U22s don't help there. So what's the hook? What is going to be the enticement for the vets as a part of this?
The love of the game.
Of course.
It's that
All right.
simple.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
I think, and this is just me extrapolating here, that you're probably going to end up with that cap number expanding. So that way players can, make more and you get more allowances for the veterans that are already there. So DPs can, make more. Everybody else can make more. So maybe you expand the cap or something like that.
I think, ultimately, like if you're the PA, I think you already understand that this is going to be like a very, very, very slow process in terms of just taking baby steps.
Yeah.
And when something like this comes along, I don't think you have a choice but to go with it, unless there's like something in the fine print that is not good. But I don't see that happening. So
Yeah.
I think they just have to go for it and say, all right, cool. It's the right direction for now.
Yeah. So point number 2, Jarrett, we go from 1 buyout per season to 2. So you could have 2 contract buyouts. Comes after a previous change, which the league allowed the club to buy out a player during the season. Previously, the buyout had to occur during the off season. So now you're trying to figure out, as we get ready for seasons, it's like, okay, who gets the 1 buyout? What team uses the get out of jail free card and just jettisons a player? Right now, it looks like it would be going from 1 to 2 if you end up really spending money on a boatload of if you spend a boatload of money on a dude and it ends up being a complete and total crash out, you can now go from 1 to 2 in that manner. So you're ending up with more discretionary spending. You have that option of taking the hit of, it's like, okay, I might have screwed it up, but I've got this window. I've got this get out of jail free card kind of a thing. So we might be going from 1 buyout to 2, Jarrett.
I like it. It gives the teams, I think, more incentive to take a risk. If you've got more opportunity to get out from under deals, I think it gives you more incentive to go out there and take a big swing. Because, look, we can take 2 big swings this year. If they don't work, we buy them out. We don't have to sit under this Bobby Bonilla-shaped log for multiple years. So go be risky. Go get, to Taka's point, go get somebody on loan from England or Spain who might just need minutes. Go get your Ricky Puiges of the world.
Yes.
Go take a swing at that young player who's really exciting but might be really raw, and you want to figure out if he can be that guy or not, because you can buy him out. And I would hope that also benefits the players. Because let's say, you're in a situation where you do a Derek Etienne Jr. kind of move and you say, hey, man, this isn't working out. You're falling behind in the depth chart. We're not going to be able to guarantee you minutes. If you want to take a buyout, you can get paid and go somewhere else, sign a new contract, and get a fresh start. And that way, everybody walks away. You walk away with your pockets a little bit heavier. We walk away with a new spot. I'm great with giving them another buyout option. If for no other reason, I hope teams become more aggressive with it and a little more risk taking. It's okay when it's okay. It's not a tragedy to fail when you're taking a big swing that if it works out, you could make waves, picking up a trophy, making finals, that kind of stuff. Take those swings, and if you've got an extra net underneath you, start doing some Cirque du Soleil flying.
And Tyler, you don't have to be Messi and friends pre-Messi and sit there and sign 5 DPs and say that you're only paying 3.
Right.
Even as Santi Sosa body checked Blaise Matuidi into retirement, and so I don't know if that really counted as having a DP there. But yeah, you give that opportunity, you give that option anyway for a team to sit there and go, okay, yeah, we will take this risk, where they might not have done so before.
Yeah, and actually, out of the main changes that were mentioned in the article, like, to me, this is the one I actually like the most, believe it or not. I mean, the 3 DPs, 3 U22s, like, that's great. That needed to happen. But for all the reasons that y'all have already said, having that extra little bit of freedom to just say, you know what, this is not going to work out at all. Like, for everybody's benefit, we're going to go ahead and cut bait now, and you go your way, we go ours. And it wasn't meant to be. And that's totally fine. But right now your hands are tied in a lot of ways because the one buyout, you have to be so strategical with it. Like so much goes into that decision. Whereas this one, you've at least got a little bit of leeway. And yeah, I mean, you go out and you make that signing that everybody says, like, at least on paper, it makes sense. And then they get here and it doesn't make sense anymore. Then you just go and you go through with it, and you still got one left over just in case. So yeah, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. And like Jarrett said, it's the risk taking that I think you'll see. Even the teams that don't necessarily want to spend as much money, I think this will maybe help them a little bit, maybe push them towards, all right, we're gonna go after somebody a little bigger than we normally would.
So when does Minnesota use theirs on Reynoso?
I was just about to ask that. I was like, man, this is perfect timing.
Well, and for those that do not know that particular dig, there is a reason that he has been referred to in the last year or so as Reynoso. And so Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend a green card meeting. And this is from Andy Greeter, and this was yesterday. So apparently he did not attend a green card meeting and gets to stay in Argentina. So right now it is the best player for Minnesota United, unless, of course, maybe if you were to ask Timu Pukki about something like that.
Yeah.
That it appears that Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend a green card meeting and stayed in Argentina. So, green card interviews apparently were lined up, according to Charlie Boehm, by the Loons last year and this year, meaning the calendar years of 23 and 24. And Reynoso decided not to show up on both occasions. So right now, the best player for Minnesota United, he ain't there. And he is home in Argentina. And after all of this, and Andy Greeter actually refers to this as Reynoso Volume 3. So you are without Reynoso. My guess is, as we kind of sit there and, yes, exactly, Alex. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. Minnesota United. Absolutely correct. I'm guessing that if this passes, if these 3 ideas pass, and we'll get to item number 3 coming up in just a little bit, and has to do with more AM, that this might actually be one of those times where you sit there and you take that hit. If you get that second add-on, you sit there and it's like, all right, bro, we're done with you. And that could be it. But Tofka, our resident lawyer in person, says that it really should be a full breach of contract to cancel the contract. And that way you don't get affected by something like this. But, Tyler, this might be, until you come up with the idea through the legal channels, this might be what Minnesota United could need right now when it comes to their roster.
Yeah. But I do agree. I mean, I think like there's got to be something in there that says like you kind of have to, go to meetings to be in the country to play soccer for our club.
We'd kind of like you to be a part of the roster, but you kind of need to help us out here. So apparently, Khalid El Ahmad, the chief soccer officer for the Loons, yesterday said, quote, Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend his recent green card appointment, and he remains in Argentina. We do not have an updated timeline for his return and have no additional comment at this time. Our entire focus is on the players and staff who are here, end quote.
Passive aggressive dad energy.
I was just that last little bit.
We're focusing on the players that are here. And
it's like it is the same energy as, I'm sorry, we're just trying to take a family photo at Disney World. I didn't realize I was asking too much of you.
I mean, it's
true.
Yeah. It's you end up with a situation like this. Yes, this would give Minnesota United an out, but I do think that as Dell says, it falls under the character clause. Do you really want a player like this, no matter how good they are? And I think that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You want a player like Reynoso. You need a player like him. You've seen what he can have for you when he seems to be motivated to be in the country and play Major League Soccer. But right now, it looks like he just wants to stay at home. My guess is if he can get a gig in the Argentine League once his time with Minnesota United is done. I think he'd be happy, but I think he just wants to be someplace else, any place else other than the land of 10,000 lakes where the state bird is the mosquito. That's the joke inside the state. It really isn't, but because of all the lakes, if you're there in the summer, you better take off with you. And I'm not kidding.
They share it with Louisiana.
That is true.
Different variety.
What if he just pulls a Darwin Quintero and just goes to Houston? It just does the Minnesota to Houston Express, and you give Houston another playmaker, and then Benny Ball just takes over the world.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna go hang out with Ache. No, I'm done. It's like, I don't want to play in Minnesota anymore. Okay, we're ripping up your contract. Ben Olson, line 1. Mr. Olson, Mr. Olson, you got a phone call on line 1. Who is it? Someone named Reynoso on line 1. He picks up the phone. He's like, yo, dude. Something like that. So
and Reynoso's like, it was just too cold for me up there. They wouldn't listen to me.
It's like, I can't function in these conditions. I can't
Too
do
cold. And when it's not cold, I watched a child get carried away by a mosquito like it was Jurassic Park 3.
Yes. And it was at Allianz, as a matter of fact. Point number 3 for these alleged rule changes: more GAM for transfers. Under current rules, teams can convert up to just under $1.25 million of any transfer or loan revenue into GAM. Under new rules, the teams will be able to convert up to $3 million a year in transfer or loan revenue into said GAM. Benefits to teams that may sell only one player a year. This is the analysis from Tenorio et al. At The Athletic. The example they give is when Chicago sold Gaga Slonina to Chelsea, they only got 1.2. Meanwhile, a team that sold 2 players for a total of, say, $4 million gets 2.4 in GAM. So what it does is I guess it brings everything back to the mean. Under the new rule, teams that sell players will have the same maximum amount of GAM that they can reach per year across all sales, solving a specific problem, ensuring teams get rewarded for how much revenue they bring in rather than the number of transfers. So say, we'll go back to the Miguel Almiron example because we don't want to deal with present players because that hasn't happened. We'll use Miggy as an example. So if Atlanta sells Miguel Almiron for the $27 million plus add-ons and what have you, they would be getting that maximum of 3 as opposed to 1.2, which would help them out being able to buy down players from DP to high TAM. It could help you out in that kind of a situation, even though Atlanta United is a bit more of a mover and a shaker, Tyler, than that. But you get that big marquee deal. You get to max out with it instead of just sitting there and walking away going, I only get 1.2 out of this. What's going on here, man?
Yeah. 27 million, and I only get to do anything with that little bit. I think this is the one where it kind of brings you back to earth a little bit with MLS roster rules, because you're like, oh, well, those first 2 sounded cool, kind of. And then you get to the third one and it's like, but we still have to deal with monopoly money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, step in the right direction, but like it's going to benefit, I think, the teams overall that just, like you said, they don't make moves a ton. They're not doing things a lot. Like you've got a team like Atlanta United that I feel like the GAM in general is just going to keep you from doing what you want to do from a roster perspective, because it locks you down. And so, cool. It's a step in the right direction. I'm not a big fan of GAM, not a big fan of monopoly money, but it does open up a little bit. I think more so if you're like a Salt Lake or somebody, but yeah, step in the right direction, but not my favorite of the 3.
Well, yeah. And I think the larger point that we should make here, and I think that once again, it's something that we have discussed a lot, is that you can't just have a cap at 3.8. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, with the way the league is growing now, with the attractiveness that is attached to players, and I mean, I could think of one group of owners in South Florida who look at that 3.8 and they're sitting there going, man, we got to boost that. And anybody that wants to bring in these high-profile players, wants to pay them whatever, wants to bring in the metric crap ton of high-profile players and try to pay them something other than, say, $100,000 and, here's some Canadian Tire bucks and here's a Dunkin' Donuts coupon. Oh yeah, that's great, Luis Suarez. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts. I love Dunkin' Donuts. That's going to no. It's got to be a larger cap figure. And like I said, it was raised 8% to I think 3.8 this year, but still, you're at 3.8, and you've got folks that want to invest. As we've gone through these three, apparent, soon to be brought in rules that were discussed and approved at the BOG meeting. Not approved, but approved on one side of the equation. But you've got to have more money to invest to bring in more players if you want to sit there and continue to invest and have the players in your academy and your second team rewarded for the time that they've spent. You want to keep them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You kind of have these other things that you can play with here too, Tyler. But the third one, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but I think you've got to look at the cap number too.
Yeah, and then just to piggyback on that real quick, I mean, you go back to the Miggy example, and as an Atlanta fan, you're kind of in maybe a unique position. I mean, Miami's in the same boat, LAFC's in the same boat. The big spenders are kind of in the same boat where it's like, cool, we make this move in Miggy's case, what, 27 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as an Atlanta fan, you don't have to worry about the whole like business football manager kind of side of things because Arthur Blank has money. He's going to throw money. It's a luxury that we're lucky to have. So it's not like he has to be sold for 27 million or whatever, because ultimately, like, it doesn't really free up your actual hands to do much of anything like it does in other countries. Like if you are, I don't know, Sunderland, and you get relegated twice, and now you're under different rules and you have to really make a business out of it. Cool. That's where, selling somebody for 27 million becomes a big thing. But here in MLS, it's like, cool. I mean, we have bragging rights. That's great. But we're still tied down by this freaking game thing. And that part I think sucks. And really there's nothing that you can do about it until they either open it up way more or they just get rid of it entirely. But that's not going to happen anytime soon.
The frickin' GAM thing sucks, Jared, according to Tyler. I think that's a direct quote.
TLDR.
To simplify down, yeah, and I don't disagree. It's annoying, and it's overcomplicating things. You decided to overcomplicate things back in the Beckham days, and instead of undoing it, you've just kind of made things more complicated. So yeah, some of this is a step in the right direction. Some of it is a step in the we're going to complicate and twist things a little bit more.
Yeah.
And to the point, though, I mean, like, yeah, you can get the incentives of developing your talent and selling it, but not reaping the full rewards is kind of always going to be annoying. Now, look, there's always going to be benefits to developing, winning with, and then selling talented young players. You're going to get more people into the academy. You're going to get higher profile people coming in. There's glory to be had with it all. There's excitement that kids grow up and build that association with the organization. But you still want to reap the full financial benefits from what you've done instead of basically having Don Garber's conversion kiosk at the airport when you get to a new country and you having to change out your currency for nickels on the dime.
Yeah. So, I mean, the league continues to take steps in the right direction. And apparently this Board of Governors meeting also had a visit from Gianni Infantino. Like, for the first time ever, you get a FIFA president coming to an MLS meeting. So I found that to be somewhat intriguing. Don Garber says, thinks it speaks to or underscores the importance of the North American soccer market. FIFA's embracing the opportunity here to grow the game. It's exciting, if I could get my upper plate to work. It's exciting to see the enthusiasm that exists both at the FIFA level, the CONCACAF level, with where we are today. But FIFA did not make a formal presentation about how to grow said game, but rather took a more conversational approach to discussing the growth of the game in the U.S. and of the league itself. So apparently he just wandered up to the dais. He said what was on his mind, where the sport was, views about MLS, fan level, investment, commitment, infrastructure, all this kind of stuff. And so he just kind of stood up there and they had a conversation about everything. So Gianni Infantino and Don Garber got to hang out in Los Angeles too, Tyler.
Yeah. I wish I could have just sat there and listened to the conversation and just heard what it was about. I don't know where these two, thought processes combine in a good way right now, because I mean, I think the big thing from this Board of Governors meeting is obviously the rule changes. That's going to be the big news coming out.
Yes.
But the sitting president of FIFA showing up, like what were you trying to accomplish? Like you didn't just show up just to say, hey man, it's cool, World Cup's going to be here in a couple of years, like woohoo, like cheerleader. There was a reason he was there, and I just want to know what it is.
Well, I mean, this is almost like, could it have been first date behavior where, you'll go wandering in and, hi, here's Gianni. He's never been here before. So everybody say hi. Hi, Gianni. One of those kinds of things.
Does he have to get
Wow,
up
that
and
sounds-
tell us what he did over his summer vacation too?
Yes, absolutely.
This sounds more like an AA meeting than it does first date.
Hi,
To Tom's question, I don't know where they went for dinner afterward. I hope it was just like In-N-Out.
yes, that would be perfect.
Yes.
Johnny Infantino just staring in absolute horror as someone hands him a basket of animal-style fries.
Oh, that would be, and he's there.
Dripping.
He's there in his blue blazer and the white pressed button down shirt and the khaki pants. And Don Garber goes, man, you'll love this. Trust me.
He hasn't had that much sodium in 5 years.
No doubt. And he's probably sitting there going, why can I not tie this tie first thing in the morning because of everything that was there? Tyler, when it came to this past weekend, Atlanta United gets a point. Brad Guzan with the pass of the century to Edwin Mosqueda, and the Edwin Mosqueda vibe here in the segment this morning, and Jamal Tiare. And when you go back and you look at the replay, Jamal was struggling and pushing through the injury that we found out that he had to get there to make the header for the game tying goal. So Jamal out, Derek Williams out.
Yeah. Freaking baseball fields. I don't know. Here's the thing. It wasn't a bad game. It was a game that I still contend Atlanta should have won.
Chaos.
It was chaos.
There was no middle third. It was tennis.
It was literally
like
that.
You were over at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Center and you just transplanted it into Citi Field. That's what you had. It was the U.S. Open in this location. That was what you had.
And then all the midfielders are like 10 minutes in, just being like, okay, well, the ball's just going over my head. So I guess I'm going to have to pick a side and figure out where I'm going to go to get on the ball.
It's just like this.
Yeah. So
Kramer is a ball boy. All the midfielders in this match, they're just like this,
it does still to me feel like a lost opportunity. And I see what Kevsy's saying in the chat. It was a crap PK call. I disagree that it was a PK. Just like I disagree the one.
But if you're going to make that PK call, I mean, at least, you can make the argument for it, whether or not you believe what was called, I guess is the best way to phrase it. You can sit there and say, yes, there was contact. Yes, it was inside the 18. It might have been a crap PK call, but you can say, if you detach, you can look at it either way. You can sit there and say, yes, if you're Kefsey or Tyler, yes, it's a crap PK call. If you go to the other side, you can sit there and justify the call by saying, okay, I see this, and this, and I get it. I understand it. And so that's part of what we like to discuss here. Is there a rationale for calling it, even though we may disagree with said call?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then my only other addition to that argument is if that was a PK call, then there should be at least one PK call in every single match played worldwide, because this is a contact sport, and the amount of contact that was in that call was so minimal. And, and then I go back last night and I'm looking at we all watched the She Believes Cup final, and that penalty, that was not a penalty. It was not a penalty. But again, yeah, if you go by that line of thinking, like, okay, I mean, right day, right, where Mars is at, where the moon's at, everything, in place. Okay, I mean, by definition, you could call it a penalty, but there's just it's the consistency thing. And I know I've had that conversation on here, on our show, everywhere. Like I just want consistency. And I know it's hard to get consistency between like different refs.
Right.
But just give me the same thing in one match and I'll be happy. So, it's frustrating. And I know there's so many factors. I know that there's, where's the ref? Where, what is his position? You go back in that same match though, and you look at where Brooks Lennon came together with, I don't know if it was Santi Rodriguez or whoever, and they were shouting for a penalty. And I thought there was more. I still didn't think it was, but I thought there was more to that one than there was in the first one.
Yeah.
And so it's the consistency. It'll always go back to consistency. But I just think, if you call that penalty in that New York City match, then you probably should have called like 3 or 4 others for both teams because it was just such minimal contact.
And you probably would have been best friends with Bukayo Saka yesterday after what happened.
Yeah.
With that collision with him and Neuer.
As an Arsenal fan and also as a Munich fan, this game yesterday was really, I was struggling a lot. I was struggling because
yay boo.
yeah, because I really love both teams. Arsenal is my team after Atlanta, of course.
Oh, wow.
It's not a penalty. I mean, you saw his leg. He went looking for the contact. To be fair, it wasn't a bad try. I get where he was going with it, and it was I think it was more of a penalty than the one in the Atlanta United game. But
yeah, well, and Alex with MLS, he says, we fixed VAR last year, full speed replay only. If you don't spot a clear and obvious error at full speed, then you don't signal down. And that's one of the things for me when it comes to VAR is that the longer you are under the hood, the longer that you're looking at it, you're staring at the monitor, I think you're looking for something as opposed to trying to confirm one way or the other. I think that if you're looking at a monitor and you're talking 2.5 minutes, it's like, I think you're looking for something to either justify or reverse. I don't think you're looking for confirmation at that point. And I think that that's one of the things that gets to me when it comes to using VAR. And, there are times where they sit there and they'll look at it like the Zapruder film and they'll go, okay, down and to the right. You're looking for the magic loogie. It's like down and to the right. Okay, so I see it here. And then, but then you take all the context away if you're looking at it frame by frame. So there are still issues in the analysis and those who make the analyzing for all of these things that we're still trying to push through in the human element of VAR.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got to go back to the argument, too, of like, I understand, especially in America, you look at the clear and obvious thing, right? Because of like NFL.
Yeah.
But I think what I wish I could see out of refs in general is, the head ref by the laws of the game is the only one that can make the decision. I like that we've seen more that just in the short time they've been back this season of the head ref actually going to the monitor, because there's times I will always go back to the Brooks Lennon, what should have been a penalty in Miami a couple of years ago.
But he's a diver.
Yeah.
He's a diver.
Yeah. Like what? But Jair Marufo doesn't even go to the monitor, and that irritates me. But all right, so that didn't happen. They did go to the monitor in this one. And then you put up a graphic that says something about checking for a possible red card. I did not get that at all. We were in the bar doing the live show, and I didn't hear everything being talked about. And I was like, why are they looking at this for a red? That's barely a touch. What are we whining about here?
Well, I also think that that's also a supposition by the production crew at that point, unless they hear the conversation and they channels through. Yes, we're looking for a red. If you hear the VAR channel and that's what they're saying, that's what you're putting up there. But
yeah, that's true. And then, you look at the head ref actually going to the monitor and then goes to actually take a gander at what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish, and this is where the announcing it in stadium thing would be so much better, because I just want to hear something. I want to hear a reason, not after 3 days later on Twitter.
Our bad.
Yeah. If not our bad, like give me an actual reason why you felt like that was strong enough to warrant a penalty when 2 minutes ago somebody got absolutely waylaid, but because it was just outside the box, like it's not the same thing. That's where I just want to hear something, not the generic.
No generics allowed. What's the next for Scarves and Spikes?
So we had our live show this past weekend. But we've got our show tonight over on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, everywhere else. Scarves,
Yes.
the letter N, Spikes on Twitter. And yeah, we'll be back at the driver's license derby this weekend.
You ain't kidding, brother. And we'll see who's plastic and who ain't, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
As always, Tyler, it's great to have you on Wall Pass Wednesdays to go through things. The fact that we had some breaking news to kind of get into, or developing stories, since it's not officially news, but it's stuff that's been half agreed to. Well, we agreed to it. Now it's your turn. That kind of stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us at ATL Pilgrim, at Scarves and Spikes. Tyler, we will catch up with you. We'll see you Sunday. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right, thank you.
There you go. That's Tyler. He's going to go stare at his car. And so that means that here in hour number 2, we catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, and we go over everything Major League Soccer, the week that was, the week that will be, and our resident Newcastle fan, Dylan Butler. Dylan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Everything transitions. We go and get ready for everything. Hour number 1, we went through the 3 possible new, probable, maybe additions, ideas to what's going on in Major League Soccer. The rearrangement of the DPU22 positions, where you could go 3 and 3, you could go 2 and 4 and get some extra GAM. You've got the two possible buyouts now, and then the idea of being rewarded if you only get the big sale, not just the incremental sales. The possibilities there with getting more, almost 3 times what you would normally be getting in a situation for AM on sales. When you look at those possible, see, the Board of Governors were like, yeah, we agreed to it. Okay, now it's your turn. those 3 ideas, when you look at those 3 ideas and how they could either help or hinder what's going on, what's your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it could only help, right? I mean, the more, I think if you polled people around Major League Soccer, fans, journalists, maybe even teams as well, owners, I think the majority would tell you that they want more spending. Right now, it's to what level? Like, do you just completely blow the top off like a volcano and just spend willy-nilly, if you will, a la kind of North American Soccer League? Certainly you can do that, right? And I think some are mentioning the World Cup coming up as the possibility to finally just break down all those doors and not be so careful. You and I have spoken on this program a few times about, kind of like a baseball MLB setup where there's there's a cap, right?
Yeah.
Like a tax cap, if you will. And if you breach that, then you pay a penalty that all the other teams, can benefit from. So listen, there's a million ways to do this, but I would say that this can only be seen as a positive right now. I mean, at any additional funding, any mechanism that allows for more spending, I think is only a positive.
And one of our plus ones, one of our A-listers, mentioned in the initial conversation, okay, so that's cool. What's the benefit for the current players in this? Because the current players, and meaning the PA, basically. So the players themselves that are already employed, that are neither DP nor U22, those folks that are making the living wage, they're getting anywhere from 84,000 to whatever 1.5 million or whatever. What is the benefit to them to agree to these? Is it, in your mind, the idea of hopefully, probably, possibly taking that cap and boosting it up so there could be more money to spend in the overall for the rank and file, for lack of a better phrase, when it comes to those folks that are neither impacted as a U22 or as a DP?
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of, having David Beckham on a roster with a guy who's, got to work at a car wash in the side is kind of is hopefully well behind us. I think the basement floor has risen. So for sure, yeah, I would think, listen, you're not going to leave. You're not going to continue to raise the ceiling and then leave the basement where it is, right, and extend it out like an accordion. I think you're going to raise that bottom, if you will, also accordingly. So, yeah,
but I think that's the key, though, is that
Yeah.
you've got to have a floor
yes,
in addition to the ceiling that may or may not exist. Because as you and I, as hockey guys, we look at a franchise in Arizona that has no compunction to spend, and they will take dead contracts. They will take players that are on long-term IR and have no interest in them at all being a part of their active roster, but they'll take on those salary numbers just to get above the floor so they can have full roster levels and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I think that that's key here. So you don't have, and hopefully monitoring will take care of this as well, that you don't have a club that is so tied to their academy, their twos, their NP club, what have you, or that there's no interest in spending at all, that they would benefit from that luxury tax, like almost like a Pittsburgh Pirates situation. So I guess if we're talking about it, you don't want a Pittsburgh Pirates situation, you don't want an Arizona Coyotes situation if you do things like this in Major League Soccer as we continue to grow this league.
Yeah, I mean,
am I off?
100%. Yeah, no. Yeah, 100% agreement.
So now another question from another one of our +1 A-listers. What's the argument against just really simplifying it? Why not just make it 4 DPs and a cap for everybody else, and that's it?
We like things complicated at MLS.
I know there's math. It's MLS just likes to have math, and I don't know if it's
like I just filed my taxes, John, and I just signed it. Like I don't know what half this thing.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like literally when I'm doing my taxes, and the boss takes care of it because she is a registered accountant. Perfect. And so literally it's like she wants all my tax forms, and she wants the deductions that I made, because I now cannot, as of a handful of years ago, since the tax structure changed, I would submit 3 or 4 separate tax forms to go with my 1040. We used to file separately because I could write my entire life off when it came to being in the business. But when the tax structure changed, I can't do that anymore. And so now literally everything has to be lumped in. I've got to come in with Schedule A. I've got to have, here's all my 1099s. Here's my, contributions to stuff. Take as much or as little of this as you want so we don't get into, any kind of trouble. And, that's the way it is with taxes with me. It's like, look, you don't want me handling taxes when it's just a straight 1040. We're going to be in serious trouble. I am right there with you, brother. Trust me. You look at we were looking at the idea of 3-3. I think that should have been coming a long time ago. Frankly, I'm like, look, get rid of designations. No one gets titles anymore. It is a utopian society where we all share the same ideas. It's like we are all equals here, in the office space. No one has a title. You're not a vice president. You're someone who works for the firm. You're not a chief executive officer. You work for the firm. No titles anymore. Everybody just works equally. So get rid of the whole DP and U22 thing while we're at it, and just go ahead.
It's like the teams that don't have the names in the back, right? It's just
yes, it is the collective idea. And so that way you ought to be able to invest however you want. You just strip the titles of DPs and U22s. Oh, he's under 22 years old. Okay, great. Fine. You pay him whatever you want to instead of having these designations. I don't know if stripping titles and names off the backs of jerseys will eventually get to that point. I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime or not, but the idea of, okay.
Not in Miami.
Yeah, no. Well, but I will give them credit. They went from 5 to 3. They went from 5 DP to 3, so at least they're there.
No, I mean the name of the jerseys.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So I mean, it's just you're looking at a situation with them where they're going to want to spend, and they're going to continue since they have gone down this road. I don't think they have any choice. They can't be like the guy across town who originally owned the Marlins, and it's like, okay, build, win a title, and strip. Build, win a title, and strip. You can't do that. You can't. The Moss brothers can't be like Wayne Huizenga now because they've already set that bar of self-expectation, I think, plus the expectation of what's there, and now they're going to have to do it where the salary structure kind of helps them a little bit. The cap only got boosted to $3.8 million. That to me is the biggest thing. You've got to boost the cap number. It can't just be an 8% slightly more than cost of living agreement. And now you're up to, 2.8% cost of living adjustment. No, we'll make it 8. You've got to do that. You got to have more than that. You got to have 3.8. I mean, come on now. And then the idea of the conversion of GAM. Apparently, let me go back to what about the two mistakes you're allowed? You're allowed 2 strikes instead of just the 1. Hopefully, it promotes more spending, I would guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want teams to swing, right? Like you don't want to just have them stand in a box and just next pitch. I'll take the next one. Yeah,
yes.
No, I don't know. Can't spend that.
Yeah.
Because there was a concern, like you said, right? Like we only have one hiccup here. Like we only have one alt delete, whatever the
control alt delete.
Control alt delete. Yeah. So, no, that's a positive as well.
Yeah. And I mean, you hope that allows other folks, but it also gives the folks who are at the lower end of the salary scale that idea of, okay, maybe we'll do it because, we've got that window. We've got that opening where the teams at the lower end will sit there and go, okay, we might take a risk once in a while. Rich, our resident Philadelphia Union supporter. Has anyone ever thought about maybe it's not signing a DP, it's about the quality of the DP signing? There's a difference between signing someone who's a good player who deserves a DP contract and a big name who gets a DP. And I think that Miles Robinson probably would be an example there where under the current construct, Atlanta United had him as a high TAM, but because of the current construct, you could only offer him a 30% increase in his salary figure because of how things are currently structured. Now, I would think that with this new rule on board, you could elevate him into that third DP slot or something like that, where you're not having to only offer X amount and offer that as a max and go, look, the rules have hamstrung us. We can't do anything more. Maybe that opens a window for these high TAMs to get these DP level things too.
Maybe.
Have I lost my mind, Dylan? What is going on with me this morning?
No. It's someday in some highfalutin university they'll teach MLS economics as a business course.
Oh my God! Oh, do you want to do that?
Professor Garber will be in front of all the kids and explaining.
He'll have the clicker and he'll have the clicker going back and forth on the PDFs and advancing things. And did you see the latest on Emmanuel Reynoso with Andy Greeter?
I did not.
Apparently, for the second year in a row, Minnesota United has scheduled a green card meeting, and Reynoso has decided not to show up for the second year in a row. And I mean that it's not probably just the second time in 12 months, but in 23 there was a green card meeting. Didn't show up.
So he really doesn't want a green card.
Or maybe he just doesn't want a green card in Minnesota. And Khalid El-Ahmad, the chief soccer officer, was like, we're only focusing on the folks that are here. And we've set up meetings, and he's chosen not to show up for both. So Minnesota United, with a new coach in Eric Ramsey, is trying to figure out how to do things. And he's not going to have Emmanuel Reynoso. Jarrett had mentioned in hour number 1 that basically Reynoso would just, his contract gets wiped out in Minnesota. Then all of a sudden he just walks into the door in Houston. You're just like, yeah, I'm going to go here. And just, Ben Olsen knocks on.
I like this shade of green card here.
Yeah. So literally it's just, I don't know what's up. And the point was made by Alex, one of our +1s and A-listers, that, something's not right, and you just hope that he gets the help that he needs on whatever level that is. And you hope that it's not just something that he's taking it insanely personal and just isn't interested and is holding the loons at a ransom. Pardon, Rich. But yeah, and this would be where you could use, come the summer, that second buyout if you wanted to, with a troubled case like Emmanuel Reynoso. It gives you that kind of an out where you had a big oopsie and for whatever reason, things just didn't work out. This would benefit Minnesota if they chose to go down this road, or maybe they just get to hang on to his discovery rights until the year 21, 27 or something like that. I don't know how this would work. It's just, it's, you know, it's odd. And you, like I said, if there's something that's not right, you want him to get all the help that he needs to help get through this situation. The week that was in Major League Soccer, before we get into the week that will be, the weekend that will be, what's stuck in your mind with the week that was in Major League Soccer? Whose seat is hotter? Let me ask you this. Whose seat is hotter in one of these two cities? Is it Nick Cushing after even getting a draw at Citi Field against Atlanta United, or is it Gary Smith in Nashville, or are they both still equally hot in your mind?
Cushing's seat is a weird one.
How weird is it?
It feels like there's extra cushioning, if you will, on it, because how can a seat seemingly be hot for this long and you're still able to sit on it? So
do you just not have an idea for a Band-Aid or a substitute teacher? I mean, why would you not just take what's going on with Blue 2 and work that into this discussion? Or are you still too early in the season, even though you might be predisposed to making a choice? Is it still too early to pull a trigger?
don't know, to be honest. And I think the East too is in such a way that you can't, like, yes, in MLS you can make up points pretty quickly, but it's going to be really hard, I think, in the East, right? Like, there's going to be tiers in the East, and it's going to be hard to jump from tier to tier to tier. And right now they're in that bottom tier of the East. So, but I'm not in their border. Like, I don't know what
But it's Dylan Butler Estates.
plans are. I know that's just for the stadium naming rights. Like, I'm not in the decision making process within the club, unfortunately.
Man. and I mean, you look at what's going on in Nashville, and Gary Smith, I think, is probably
his. I think is hotter.
And it's like, you really get to see what this club is like without Walker Zimmerman at the back, for a team that was built to have a steady spine. And you're trying to figure out still, and I don't think Sam Surridge has worked as a second striker or as an outlet for Hani Mukhtar.
He did score, though. He did score.
True. I mean, but it's just, so then do you continue to just pin in Hani Mukhtar? And if Mukhtar gets out of his quadruple team and, finds an outlet, you hope that individual is clinical. I mean, you don't want possession. You want to just go ahead and try to create pressure and turn it into short fields and being clinical and finishing. And you're trying to do it without Walker Zimmerman. And there are holes here. It just seems like, what's going on?
And what I don't understand too is, like, listen, Walker Zimmerman's a very good center back, right? Like, center back of the year, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Is he like so valuable to this team that all of a sudden you take him out and just the structure falls defensively? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, it's nothing against Walker Zimmerman. He's very, very good. But you should still be able to maintain your defensive structure even without him there, Like, Red Bulls, you take a defender out, and actually maybe they're the best example of it. You look back to the year that they won their last Supporters Shield, right? You had the center back tandem of Aaron Long and Tim Parker. You had Kamara Lawrence and Murillo on either side, right? Very, very good back for Luis Robles in goal. Now, ultimately, they changed all those parts. It did take them a few years, but their identity was always there. Yeah. They were always going to press and just be a pain in the rear to play against.
Mm-hmm.
So even though some of the names changed for them, you go to Nealis instead of Long, and Reyes in there as well. Like, they're still the Red Bulls. Like, that's what I don't understand about Nashville. Like, they were born on defensive solidity, right? They said we will defend first. We'll take care of that, and then we'll figure out the goal scoring. And then they get Hani Mukhtar, obviously, and he was doing his thing. And now you're like, we need help for him. We need a DP9, and you bring in Surridge. And, I agree. I don't think he's to the level of that guy. But to me, it's more on the back end. Like, how are you leaking goals like this?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Dax McCarty, again, a solid MLS professional. But is he also the missing? Like, you take those two pieces out, and now, like, you've got your finger in the dam, and it's just, water is leaking everywhere. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at, and so now you've got me fishing here, and I do want to ask a question about Red Bulls. So,
Yes.
You look at their starting 11 last time out, Nashville, I mean, and you see how they lined things up. And it was against Philly, and Philly being Philly, we know that they're going to grind it out too. They don't want the ball. They don't care. You end up with at the back, in something akin to a 3-5-2, 5-3-2, take your pick. You end up with Lovitz, McNaughton, and Josh Bauer at the back. Your three at the back. And then you would have either Anunga drop. If Will goes forward, Anunga drops. Drew Yearwood, a part of that discussion as well in the midfield. Anibal Godoy wants to go forward. Schaffelberg wants to go forward. And, Josh Bauer, Lucas McNaughton, Daniel Lovitz. They do not even in Scrabble equal Walker Zimmerman and Dax McCarty.
Right.
You have the experience in both of those individuals, meaning Zimmerman and McCarty. You have sandpaper in McCarty. You have a tall center back who can help you on set pieces in Zimmerman. And when you look at the bench that was available for Gary Smith in that matchup, you're looking at, Mackenzie Gaines, Teal Bunbury's going to go forward, Jack Mayer, Brent Coleman. It seems like you're fishing for ideas here when you don't have Zimmerman and now obviously Dax, because Dax is in Atlanta, but you don't have those two veteran presences that can give you two different things as a part of that back three that could be a back four or whatever, depending on if your midfielder drops. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, nor do I.
Red Bulls. So then to your point, with Red Bulls, obviously Red Bulls being a system group, how is it that they seem to be different with Schwartz as coach and a force like Emil Forsberg in the middle? It seems like they have some of the same tenets that we're used to seeing with Red Bulls being Red Bulls, if we're going to put it that way. Right. But with Forsberg, it's a different presence in the midfield that gives them some extra jump and once again another physical presence, because I mean, dude's built like an H-back. I mean, he is a tight end. You could flex him out and he could probably catch some passes over at Rutgers. But it seems like there's a little different tweak to it with bringing in Forsberg and having Sandro Schwartz as coach.
Yeah, I would. It's funny because I go back to Jesse Marsh leaving, Chris Armas taking over that, again, going back to that Supporters Shield winning year.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Armas said then, and he continued to say it, listen, teams, and it was especially proven by Tata Martino and Atlanta in the playoff series, teams are figuring out how to play against Red Bull, right? Like, so we need a second way to play. We need to be comfortable on the ball as well. Like, we need to possess in addition to just going and pressing and counter pressing. So it just didn't seem to work there, but it's working with Schwartz. But I think more so, to your point, I think it's Forsberg. Like, I think that's more the key to them having this turnaround than Schwartz. I mean, not to disrespect what he's done to this point, but I think more it's about Forsberg, about having that number 10 finally. I mean, you got to go back in that position. and again, I feel like I'm hearkening back to that supporter shield, but you had Kaku in that number 10, and he was like their last real number 10. I felt like, right? Like they've swung and missed a few times on DP signings, but look what he's done though. Like not only does he bring that literal force in the middle of the field, but now you're combining Dante Van Zier, where we were ready to run out of town, right? And all of a sudden you've got someone like Forsberg to play that supporting role for him. Yeah, I mean it's all working, it seems like, right? And even there, I said before, I thought you bring another number 9 in there, which they have the ability to do. It could be a cup contender, right?
Well, and at the same time, we always talk about positional gravity, and with Forsberg, that opens things up for Van Zier.
Yep.
If you're trying to keep an eye on both Forsberg and Van Zier, that creates opportunities for Lewis Morgan. And so,
and then you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's honestly the other missing link to this, right? Because he was out really all of last year injured.
Yeah.
And he was kind of on his own island 2 years ago, having to to handle all the load offensively. So you're right. Now you've got those 3 pieces there, right? And then go ahead, take care of all 3 of those, and Amaya is going to go and score a banger, or you'll get 5 to 8 goals from other parts as well.
Mm-hmm. And one other coach has been brought to the fore for discussion. Dell down in Charleston, Luchi Gonzalez in San Jose, although I would think that John Fisher is more concerned about his current situation with the soon-to-be Sacramento A's than he is right now with his San Jose Earthquakes. It seems to me that San Jose just seem adrift, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they'll make a signing, or they'll have a new coach in, and you're like, yeah, you know what, this could. Oh, no, that's not working. Like it's, it's not. Like Matias Amat, like, yeah, listen, I like the idea. The man marking, this could work. It works so well for Chiva. No, not so much for here.
Oh, but I mean, and once again, it's
obviously like he was played out of position in Portland. Now you get him in a natural position. He's a 20 goal. He's a 20 goals a year guy. No,
if he's not in the right system, he's not. But
Espinoza's a terrific, and he is a terrific talent. Espinoza's a terrific talent. He's gonna. Oh, no.
But I mean, you look at these kinds of things, and it's system based. And I also think that if once again we use a baseball analogy, first time through the batting order, if you're that pitcher that they call up from AAA on the spot start, like on the Wednesday afternoon businessman special, and you don't have book on somebody. First time through the batting order, you're okay. But then second time through the batting order, you get into the 5th inning and you're kind of sitting there going, okay, we kind of got him figured out. And that's why you pull the guy after 5 2/3 and he's only given up 1 earned run, because they're starting to get book on you and they know what's going on. And I think that when you see a Matias Almeida, it works in the short term, but then Almeida has to adjust once the league adjusts to him. And so that's, but you've got to have guys like Espinoza and Abobasi in the right system for them to be the 20 goal scorer and the oh my gosh and all this kind of stuff. So, I think that we're getting second time through the batting order on a bunch of folks, and that's why they're getting teed off on. What's going on with you these days? MLSsoccer.com and what's going on with Varsity Media? Where are you with your spring sports?
Yeah, it's all about lacrosse right now. But before I get into those things,
yes,
two quick points.
Yes,
one, I gotta admit, I was thinking I was gonna wake up on Thursday morning and there'd be no MLS teams in the CONCACAF extravaganza. So
absolutely.
Well done by Columbus last night.
Too many chances missed by Tigres. Oh my god.
Sure. Yeah. And second, our buddy Jason is my hero. His journey, I was more enthralled with his journey from Atlanta to Citi Field than the 90 minutes of soccer that was played on that field.
You aren't the only one. I mean, it was a hashtag Longshore watch.
It was amazing. The video of him in the cab, driving along, trying to get to the parking lot, like seeing his plane. Oh, that was terrific stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and let's see. So let me see if I've got this right. So he and Jessica Charman called She Believes on local radio. Then they had set up a quick post-game show with some taped elements. They sprinted out of the press box. There was a car waiting for them. Car takes them to the airport. And by the way, it was his broadcast partner on Atlanta United, Mike Conti. It was his wife, Leanne. Leanne was waiting outside Mercedes-Benz to take.
It wasn't like a police escort.
Well, but I don't know about that part, but I do know that the lead car was Mike Conti's wife, Leanne.
Gotcha.
So Leanne takes the two of them to the airport. And then Jess's plane left early, but she had a longer issue getting from Douglas to WFNZ to call the Charlotte Revs match remotely from Charlotte. And you saw what Jason was up to. Jason's plane, and this was JetBlue, mind you. This was not Delta. JetBlue landed 6 minutes early, and I think that helped out too. It was supposed to land at 7:08, landed at 7:02. Under the new LaGuardia, they say it's longer to go from tarmac to gate to front than it was in the old LaGuardia setup.
Well, there was no the runway for the tarmac was, you could put it on the NYCFC pitch. Like, it was super small. Like, that was always the complaint about LaGuardia. Like, you got to be a good pilot to fly into LaGuardia, because if you miss, into the drink.
I mean, literally, you're coming in at a 45-degree angle, and the second you hit, you are hitting full reverse thrust. And I mean, you were trying to get there and be there right at the end. Yeah. So he lands 6 minutes early, and he got into, and then there was they had to coordinate him getting his credential, because if he had to go to the gate, if he had to go to the window to get his daily, then that would have taken extra time. Coordinated with communications with Atlanta United, they met him at the media gate to get in at Citi Field, so he didn't have to go to the window. And then they find the elevator to get him up, and he got there. Let's see. I think he got there 6 minutes before 7:40 kick. So literally, he got there in the booth with Mike at like 7:34. And then
I will say this: we've the reason for me it was so entertaining is maybe not that coordinated and with flights, but we have all been there. We've all gone from one broadcast to the next and trying to get to the next place. And so it was awesome stuff, Jason. I loved it. Big lacrosse game coming up today.
Yes.
It is Chaminade St. Anthony's. It's arguably the biggest high school rivalry in America.
Sir, I'll challenge you on that, but continue.
It is super, super high level. Like, if you look back on the lacrosse national championship game last Memorial Day, it was Duke and it was Duke and Notre Dame.
Okay.
On the field on that day, and remember, you've only got 10 guys on the field at a time, right?
20.
They were at least 7 combined between St. Anthony's and Chaminade players on the field playing at a very high level. Like, not just like your short stick D-Mitty who runs on and runs off, and like, you had starting attackmen, you had major players for both teams on those teams. So St. Anthony's and Chaminade, the Chaminade coach, I think, put it best, and Jack Moran is his name. He's in his 45th year as the head coach. He said, every other game that we play on our schedule, which has now become a national schedule, is to prepare for this game. He said, we could win those games, we could lose those games, but it doesn't matter because we need to win this game.
Varsity Media, yes.
Varsity Media 4:30. Myself and Rob Pennell is on the call. Rob Pennell, the legendary, still playing attackman. I think he's with the Redwoods in the professional lacrosse league.
The PLL, the outdoor version.
Correct.
Yes, because as I follow the National Lacrosse League, I was wondering if he played indoors and outdoors like some of those guys do.
And there will be a food review at halftime of Pizzeria G from Garden City.
See, now you're man, you ain't playing fair. That is not fair. So I assume please go hungry and enjoy your Pizzeria G, and we're looking forward to the review. Yeah. And we will catch up with you again as the busiest man in all of media in the Northeast at Dylan_Butler on the social medias. As always, my friend, it's great to go back and forth with you on Wednesdays when we go in whatever direction we go, because that's the beauty of Wall Pass. Thanks again for hanging out. Have a great call. May it stick to the tape as your Rangers mug is getting the work this morning. Be good, my friend.
All right, buddy.
There goes Dylan. And Dylan's going to enjoy his early morning beverage. Well, it's actually a late morning beverage. It's more like a brunch beverage. He's got his warm liquid, and he's got everything going on with the coffee and all of that. All right, special treat. Last week, you'll remember that when we kicked off the show on Friday morning, we had an interview with an individual who was traveling and was giving safe interview skills in Utica, New York. And it was Everton Moreira, the head coach of the U.S. men's futsal side, that was on its way to the CONCACAF Futsal Championships in Nicaragua. And they were leaving Sunday, and they were heading down there. They're practicing all week long. And the group stage, as the U.S. futsal side is chasing after a berth in their second straight futsal World Cup, they've got to get through CONCACAF first. And the group stage is this weekend, where they go up against Trinidad and Tobago on, I think it's Saturday. It is Dominican Republic on Sunday, and then Guatemala on Monday. So the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. So if today's Wednesday, yes. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday is the group stage for the futsal MNT as they try to qualify for the second straight futsal World Cup. Yesterday, we caught up with Rapha Araujo, and he's got a great story, and he's down there in Nicaragua. So we caught up with him. We got to add Central America to the places where we got to do interviews to catch you up on what's going on with the men's futsal national team as they get ready to chase after another berth in the futsal World Cup. So here is the interview that we had with Rapha yesterday before practice down in Nicaragua. And when we come back after this, we'll get you ready with all the other headlines of the day and get you ready for the day that is. We'll talk about Manchester City, and we will talk about the 6-goal thriller that they had with Real Madrid, the craziness that was there, Arsenal and Bayern, and the other matches today. We'll go through juice boxes and get you ready for stuff. So here is our conversation that we had with Rapha Araujo from Nicaragua as the national futsal side gets ready for their group stage, chasing after a berth in the Futsal World Cup. Time for a soccer down here 1v1, and for this one, we get a little traveling in. It is a multi-hemispheric experience where it is North and Central America, because we're going to catch up with Rapha Araujo and what's going on with him, because you're kind of busy right now. You're down in Nicaragua, and you're chasing a title for U.S. in futsal. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, so let me ask it from the absolute beginning. Now, first off, you were part of the 2021 World Cup qualifiers, one of 6 from the World Cup team. Born in Brazil, you moved to New Jersey at the age of 13. How did you get down the futsal road? How did that interest happen for you when it came to this particular sport and having it as a part of your being, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up in Brazil, futsal is huge there. You know, like most kids, they're playing futsal until they're about 15. That's when they begin to transition into soccer. I'm talking about professionally, you know, but every kid, you just play street soccer or you're playing futsal. That's basically what you play. So yeah, I had that background. So when I came here to New Jersey, there was a league, you know, obviously went through high school, college. After college, I was playing MPSL, which is a soccer league. But then the team I was playing for also had a futsal team playing in a futsal league that was actually pretty big, especially in the East Coast. They had a lot of like well-known futsal clubs in the league. So I started playing for them. I played for about 2 years in that league, and then actually one of the coaches from the team I used to play against, the name of the club was New York, Ecuador, a New York team. He called me. He said, "Hey, the U.S. futsal national team, they're looking to add futsal players to the team. They're having an ID camp in Philadelphia. Are you interested?" So I was like, yes, absolutely. So I went to an ID camp and I had a great showing. The coaches really liked my style, my passion on the field, and I've been there ever since. So that was in 2019.
Does it seem like a 5-year road for you where the program gets restarted by the federation 5 years ago? And now that you've gone through all of these different things and the United States is chasing after hemispheric championships, does it seem like 5 years ago when you started this road?
Yeah, honestly, time flies. Time flies, but I see so much growth in the program, within the team. Like I said, 5 years ago in 2019, the program was just looking for futsal players. That's why they were having these ID camps, looking for local talent. And thank God that's how I was found. And now we have a base. We some players. Like you said, four of the players were in the 2021 World Cup qualifying tournament. Six of us we were in the World Cup in I believe it was September, October of 2021. So we have a good base, and then now we have a lot of other players who have experience in the MASL, which is an indoor league here in the U.S. And they're just so talented. And with the strong base that we have, plus this talent, I think we have a big chance to compete for the title here.
And we'll get into that in just a little bit because I want to find out about how tough futsal in CONCACAF is for someone who's never seen it or experienced it, what they would be getting into when they watch it for the first time. But let me ask you this. You mentioned arena soccer. And when it comes to keeping yourself busy and trying to stay in the game, arena soccer is, it's hotbeds in some markets when it comes to the sport and how it has been staying in the public consciousness basically for 40 years or so. When it comes to arena soccer and futsal, I guess this will be a two-way question here. How does playing arena soccer help you with futsal? And how has futsal helped you with your arena soccer game?
Okay, so I would start by how futsal helped me get to the arena game, because I actually started playing arena after playing for the U.S. futsal national team. So obviously, because of coaches were watching the tournaments, they gave me a call. They're like, "Hey, we like you. We like you to play for our team." So that's how I got into the MASL, which is the indoor soccer league. I think there's a lot of similarities. Sorry, I can pronounce similarities between both. For example, receiving with the sole of your foot, the toe poke is actually a huge part of futsal and the indoor game. So technically, there's a lot of similarities, but it is a very different game as well. For example, we don't have walls. Is six indoor is 6v6, futsal is 5v5. But there's a lot of things you can take from one and add to the other. I think you can definitely do that.
When it comes to going from one to another, do you have to kind of reset your brain a little bit? Because, if you're in season in arena soccer and then you're called away to a futsal camp and a futsal competition, do you have to kind of reset everything and sit there and go, okay, no, the arena soccer is over here and then futsal's over here? Is there a reset or is it fairly seamless when you're going from one to the other?
I'm used to it by now. But yeah, I mean, you have to change your mentality a little bit. For example, in futsal, in arena soccer, you can, because there's boards, you can just take shots from basically any angle, because the ball, if it doesn't go in goal, you hit the boards and somebody, one of your teammates can get the rebound and score. Where in futsal, you got to be more careful. You can't just take shots from anywhere, because if the ball goes to the goalie and he makes a save, boom, transition, right? And you can get scored on like that. So there's a little, you do have to change your mentality a little bit. But I think most of us are just soccer players in general. We can play futsal, outdoor, arena, whatever it is. I think, we can transition pretty well.
What's it like representing your country?
Oh, it's such an honor. It was a dream come true playing especially when I got to play in the World Cup. Like, I still remember, like, listening to the national anthem literally brought tears to my eyes. It was such a dream.
And right now, you're part of a 14-player national team in the CONCACAF Futsal Championships, getting ready for the action this upcoming weekend in Nicaragua. How tough is CONCACAF Futsal for someone who's never seen it? We all look at it in a bunch of different sports in a bunch of different ways, but from a futsal perspective, how tough is CONCACAF?
Listen, CONCACAF is very tough. You might think, oh, there's some smaller countries if you think about like worldwide, but CONCACAF, they bring out warriors. Like every single team, there's just warriors. It's pretty physical, even though, you can't really push and slide tackle like that, like soccer, still very physical. And the referees, they kind of let a lot go. But, and also, like, believe it or not, there's some pretty big, well-known futsal teams in CONCACAF. For example, Costa Rica. I think they won 3 or 4 in a row. They've been doing this for years. They always make it to the World Cup, and Guatemala as well. Those are 2 pretty big countries in futsal, believe it or not.
What would it mean to qualify for the second straight futsal World Cup for the United States? For once again, someone who might see this in a headline somewhere and they understand, okay, so we're chasing after another World Cup bid. What would this mean in the futsal environment for the United States to qualify for their second straight World Cup?
Listen, I'm gonna be real. I think this CONCACAF, it's, I want to say, an obligation, but it's definitely an expectation. Like, we expect to do it. Where in 2021, it was kind of new. I believe all the players was their first time competing in a World Cup qualifying tournament. Where this year, we have returning players. We did it last time, so we expect to do it. We expect to qualify for the World Cup.
Rapha Araujo hanging out with us here as he is part of the 14-player U.S. men's futsal national team roster, getting ready for the futsal championships starting group stage this weekend in Nicaragua. When you have this expectation, when you and the rest of that roster, the rest of that traveling party has that expectation, how do you use that as fuel, but you don't use it as too much fuel, if that makes any sense, where you have that expectation, you have that self-imposed pressure, I guess, and how do you keep it from becoming too much of the pressure on your chest to where you just go out and perform and everything flows? That's a real tight difference there. How do you keep it as that positive and that motivator instead of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to take it one game at a time. I think you do have to play with confidence and know that, we're here for one reason, which is to qualify for the World Cup. But like you say, we don't want to have that pressure on us where it's going to affect the way we play. So I think we got to take it one game at a time. So game 1 for us is the most important game. You have to get a good result that game. So then, things are going to begin to flow for us. So we're going to take it as one final at a time. Every game is going to be a final for us. And playing, like, when you're in a final, there's pressure, but you got to play, you're leaving everything on the court. Basically, it's going to be a war every game.
When you have conversations, casual or otherwise, and you might come across a young athlete who may not fully understand what futsal can do, how it can help you as a soccer player, indoor, outdoor, what have you, can help you with your skill set. If I was to walk up to you as a young player and sit there and go, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm part of the United States national futsal squad, and we're accomplishing all these different things. And you kind of see the question mark hover over their head, and they wonder about futsal. Why should a young person gravitate toward futsal? Not just to help them out with their soccer acumen and their abilities, but why should they gravitate toward the sport in general?
Listen, I'm a firm believer that futsal is super important for the development of players. So I'll begin with that. Just futsal. Let's just talk about, right. So it's 5v5 with the goalie. So it's basically 4v4. The space is limited, right? It's a much smaller court compared to soccer, and there's nowhere to hide. You always got to be touching the ball. You always got to be showing for your teammates, or else you're not going to be able to play, right? Soccer, 11v11, even if you're younger, 9v9, sometimes 7v7, there's a lot of times that you don't touch the ball. Futsal, you always touching the ball. So it's going to help you, it's going to help your technique, right? So it's very easy for you to start by playing futsal. You're always on the ball, improving your technique. And then if you transition into soccer, you're going to feel more confident. You're going to want the ball on your foot as much as possible. And then in regards to the second part of it is futsal is so exciting. It's 4v4, it's tight. There's always you either always attacking or always defending. There's no in between. I'm not trying to say soccer is not exciting. I love soccer too, but sometimes there's more. Let's put it this way. Sometimes soccer is like a 1-0 game, 2-0 game. Futsal is rare. Okay, and then another thing that why futsal is so exciting is that you could be losing a game 2-0, 3-0 with a minute left, and you can come back. There's a tactic that we use, every team uses, called when you put a flying keeper. Is when you take your goalkeeper out and you put a player with the goalkeeper jersey, and then you basically have an advantage. You're playing 5v4, so you can create so many goals, opportunities with that tactic.
Yeah, I know we see that in other sports across the board as well. So what does the rest of the week look like for you guys? Because group stage is 13th, 14th, 15th, Trinidad, Tobago, Dominican Republic, Guatemala. What is the rest of the week looking like in a perfect world for you as you get ready to make sure that you're hitting everything full song by the time you get to the weekend?
Yeah, so training every day. I think we got training in like an hour or so. Training every day, sometimes 2 days, but then obviously taking care of our bodies, hydrating, eating healthy. We're at a very nice hotel, great food. So I'm sure there's going to be some recovery sessions, some pool sessions or something to help our legs. So right now it's training, just to getting sharp basically, and then I'm sure by when is the first game? Is it Saturday or Friday? I'm not sure, but
the 13th, whatever the 13th is.
Yeah, what is that? I think it's a Saturday.
That sounds good. I'll take your word for it. So 4 days
Yeah,
from
it's a Saturday.
Okay.
So basically, like Friday, then slow down a little bit. Some make sure you're sleeping good so that we're fresh for the first game.
Looking forward to it, and we hope that everybody gets to the weekend as healthy as humanly possible. Looking forward to the men's futsal national team chasing after the futsal championship in CONCACAF down there in Nicaragua. Rapha, it is great to see you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Good luck, you and the squad, as you chase after yet another berth in the Futsal World Cup. But first things first is getting through CONCACAF. Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Be safe. We'll be keeping an eye on you. We'll catch you up soon.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you.
Very cool that we were able to pull that off yesterday. Thanks to our friends with the National Futsal side and orchestrating all that for us to catch up with Rapha Araujo yesterday. And once again, it is Saturday, Sunday, Monday group stage as they get ready for the CONCACAF Futsal Championships in Nicaragua. Trinidad Tobago at noon Eastern time, so 10 o'clock in the morning in Managua. Then on Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern time, so it's noon. And then they get Guatemala Monday at noon or at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So 10 a.m. local, noon local, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern, 2 Eastern, 2 Eastern, as they're chasing after qualification in their second straight futsal World Cup, but they got to get through CONCACAF first. Looking forward to keeping an eye on all that stuff. And thanks to everybody with the national team to keep us up to date on that. Like I said, when we caught up with Coach Moreira on Friday as he was driving to practice in Utica, New York, that's the same league that Rapha's in. So he coaches at Utica City, and Rapha plays for the St. Louis Ambush in the Major Arena Soccer League. So we'll keep an eye on that. And thanks to the national team for orchestrating that and making sure that we could catch up with folks. And as Freaky Fabi says, Rapha Araujo, an absolute legend. So we were able to catch up with an absolute legend. I love that. So very, very cool. Yesterday, it was let's just say it was an interesting day. It was an interesting day in Champions League where you had 10 goals on the board in 2 games. And it was 2-2 and 3-3. And we talked a little bit about in hour number 1, Arsenal and Bayern, and the penalty call and the collision between Saka and Neuer that wasn't called. And then the absolute madness that happened in the 3-3 draw with Manchester City and Real Madrid. They got to close the roof at the Bernabeu to try and, create more noise and turn it into more of a cauldron. It was 1-0. Then it was 2-1. Then it was just finished. It was 3-2, and then it finishes up at 3-3. Phil Foden, folks were concerned about his health after the match, and Pep Guardiola said that he was grumpy when he was taken off as a substitute. So I think he's okay. Do not be surprised for those of us that fill in our fantasy teams if you got some folks because Manchester City plays Luton this weekend. If maybe Foden sits and he's on the bench. If a Haaland sits and he's on the bench. Kevin De Bruyne was supposed to start, but he got to the Bernabeu and started throwing up. So that's why he was not in the lineup. And you know that Pep Guardiola is looking for the return of Kyle Walker sooner rather than later, especially for the second leg at the Etihad with things tied up at 3. So you got all that. Oh, by the way, it is apparently now 5 years, $7 million a season for John Calipari and Arkansas. Maximum of 2 automatic rollover years for the NCAA tournament appearances that would extend the contract to 2031. So 5, possibly 7, and it is $7 million a year. So that's where John Calipari is when it comes to the his new gig. FIFA has announced the Women's World Cup groups. They're officially locked in for 24. Group A is France, Colombia, Canada, and New Zealand. Group B, the USA, Zambia, Germany, and Australia. Group C is Spain, Japan, Nigeria, and Brazil after the qualifiers yesterday. So those are your 3 groups for the Women's Olympic Football Tournament that is headed for Paris in short order. Let me roll through the comments from this morning. Haven't had the chance to do that, and I'll see if I missed anything from everybody that joined in this morning. And once again, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. KFC, going back to the national team. If I was Crystal Dunn, I'd feel some kind of way about being stepped on, but also getting called for a PK. You got that. And Michael Valverde, Logic says Saka should have had a pen. Michael Valverde, never want to face Alyssa in a shootout. Never. Charleston got the win over Loose City. And so Dell is naturally excited about that. And Kefsey says, good to get the win before Aiden McFadden features for Loose City. Then we got into the discussion with Tyler Pilgrim when he came in at 9:15. Tommy ATL 96, one of the co-hosts at Scarves and Spikes. 2 buyouts is huge for a team like Atlanta who can afford cutting a player to open up a spot. Yeah, Rich, teams are still hiding behind the rules. Yeah, I mean, once again, as we say, quoting Jim Rome, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it's only cheating until you get caught. I know that a team like Messi and friends, they can't afford to do it, so they've got to get really imaginative. And this is the other thing, transparency when it comes to the cap. That's the other element in all of this. When it comes to salary figures, what they're being paid, all these kinds of things, how much AM is being used in these situations, because you're kind of suspending belief and going, oh, yeah, Jordi Alba is making X, and Sergi Busquets is making this, and Luis Suarez is making this. And you're going, really? That's what they're making? Okay. So that's intriguing, but you wonder as you're processing all the information, you're going, okay, so Jordi Alba making $1 million base. And this is last year's numbers. We don't have this year's numbers. I think those come out in about a month or two. Jordi Alba, guaranteed compensation, $1.25 million. With his history, he's making $1.25 million. Busquets, $1.5 million base, guaranteed comp 1.775. And like I said, this is last year's numbers. You had LGP was on the books late last year. Joseph was on the books last year. Messi was making $12 million in base, and the guaranteed compensation was $20 million, just under $20 million 5. It's like $20 million 4, and then blah blah blah. So what was detailed in that extra 8? What's detailed in that extra $8 million over the top from that $12 million? Jean Mota made $750 last year, and DeAndre Yedlin made $825. But when you look at last year's numbers, and you see $1 million here for players of a certain status and stature, Jordi Alba guaranteed compensation $1.25 million total. Busquets guaranteed compensation 1.775 total. And then you look at LAFC as another example in all of this. So LAFC with their numbers, Chiellini base salary $1 million, and then an extra $75,000 in guaranteed compensation last year. And so you're raising the people's eyebrow about stuff like that. So to have more transparency when it comes to these kinds of numbers and figures and things like that. So you're staring at that as well. So hiding behind the rules, and you got to have some fantastic capologists. You really have to have some fantastic capologists here in the league to massage the rules to where you can pay players a certain amount, and then in turn sit there and, okay, so base is this, and then we'll give you some other guaranteed stuff and how it's worded and all these kinds of things. But I think the larger element in all of this is having bigger transparency when it comes to your salary cap and your figures and who's making what, where, and doing whatever. So Tafka loans of players from Europe need to be a new utilization of the U22s. But, I mean, don't just hold it to Europe, Tafka. I mean, if you see someone I would just say loans in general need to be a new utilization of the U22s from that. Buying a great prospect, always a worthy consideration. Getting an EPL 19-year-old on loan, equally worthy, yes. But if you want to, if stylistically, if a 19-year-old player in the EPL works for you, great. If stylistically it's someone from Central or South America, great. If it's someone from the European continent, great. Don't just hang on to it as an EPL 19-year-old. It's just wherever that player comes from, you want it to be a benefit. So, and the larger question when it comes to the MLSPA and the rank and file, you're going to have that question: what's in it for me? And so that will be another question at the Board of Governors when they present these 3 proposals. What's in it for me? And so that's going to be part of the thought with everybody that's not either a DP or a U22. Those are the extremes when it comes to your salary structure. But what about the rank and file? So that's what you're staring at when it comes to all of those figures. David, on the GAM discussion, what are we expecting GAM to be used for, though? I mean, if we got twice as much GAM for Miggy, do we keep Nagby or Gressel longer? Does this make this team stronger longer? What it does, when you get more GAM, is it gives you more spending flexibility. So in the case of, say, with recency, Saba Lobjanidze, if you have Saba, who is a low number DP, and you can buy him down with GAM to bring in another designated player, then that's what it's there for. Those players that are right there up against the margins that you can sit there and navigate one way or the other and still be under the cap. And once again, that goes into our discussion about having a cap figure that is larger than the one that is currently there. Yes, and Alex, today we mentioned Gianni Infantino with Gianni Infantino at the MLS meetings of the Board of Governors. Today, I feel discovery rights. Absolutely. So, Tafka, Infantino hearing these rules discussions, it would have been a fun watch. But yes, that would have definitely been a part of the discussion. Why not just make it 4 DPs and a cap for everybody else? We got into the discussion with Rich and Dylan about is basically the chicken and the egg idea, not just signing a DP for the sake of signing a DP, but the quality of the signing in and of itself. So there is a difference. And then hanging on to somebody that you might not have had the chance to hang on to, I think, is the other element in all of this. With hanging on to a guy that you wouldn't have had the chance to in any other situation. All right, we are in the plus. So let me get what to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Apparently, Eric Ten Hag's agency has been ordered to pay out $4.5 million in a landmark case. Dutch court rules against Sports Entertainment Group, which represented him in a dispute over a Serie A defender's limited earnings. Founded in 2000, represents Rasmus Højlund, Cody Gakpo, Pep Guardiola, whose brother Pete is an SEG shareholder, also a client, along with Robin van Persie. The landmark verdict relates to a long-running legal dispute between SEG and Stefan de Vrij over his transfer to Inter Milan in 2018. De Vrij, who has 62 caps for Holland, accused the agency of failing to disclose to him that it would earn €9.5 million in commission as a part of the move that De Vrij had in the transfer to Inter Milan back in 2018. Argued that substantial sum limited his earning potential in terms of his basic salary, along with bonuses that included the sign-on fee. De Vrij left Lazio upon the end of his deal, valued at about $40 million at the time, according to Transfermarkt. SEG claimed it had only assisted Inter in the transfer, but an Amsterdam court ruled in April of 22 the information had been wrongly withheld from De Vrij, awarded him almost €5 million in damages before the appeal, and the appeal even gave more. So €5.2 million to Stefan de Vrij. So that comes from our friends at the Times this morning. Rachel Daly's retired. Part of the England squad that won Euro 2022, retired from international football. So that's it for Rachel Daly, and a fantastic international career for the Lionesses. Also, don't know if you saw this, but from our friends at the AP, FIFA says it'll consider changes to its policy that blocks league matches from being played in other countries. Changes are part of an agreement with a promoter to dismiss FIFA from a lawsuit challenging the policy. Relevant lawyer Jeffrey Kessler filed a letter in a Manhattan court stating FIFA and the client agreed to the dismissal. Keller wrote FIFA agreed to abide by any injunction arising from the suit, which includes U.S. Soccer as a defendant. It didn't alter the suit against U.S. Soccer. So keep an eye on that, about the idea of other leagues having matches in other countries, because remember, Relevant tried to do that, and that got instantly poo-pooed by the leagues that they were interested in. Don Garber, not a fan of having other matches from other leagues in home countries of your home league in your home country. So keeping an eye out on that suit as well as it continues to roll. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And once again, it is on the board, and we'll get you ready with juice boxes and everything coming up in just a little bit. Spurs monitoring Nico Williams at Athletic Bilbao. He's got a £42.8 million release clause in his contract. Could stay for another season before Barca try to sign him in 25. Joe Wellington close to signing a new deal with Newcastle. Rapha, Varane, and Casemiro expected to head to the list of players that Manchester United is going to offload in the summer. Keep an ear out for that on Drew's 3D. PSG and Barca interested in Liverpool's Luis Diaz. Chelsea could sell 11 players this summer, including Conor Gallagher and Armando Broja, who's on loan at Fulham. Manchester United's Mason Greenwood on loan at Getafe, one of Juve's transfer targets this summer. Manchester City interested in Wolves winger Pedro Neto, but face competition from clubs in Saudi Arabia. Crystal Palace Fulham looking into a move for Union Berlin defender Danilo Doki. Real Madrid and Rodrigo says that he turned down a move to Liverpool in 2017 after they had a €3 million offer accepted by Santos. Arsenal will compete with Manchester United to sign Joao Gomez from Wolves. Liverpool interested in Bayer Leverkusen's defender Jeremy Frimpong, meaning TAA could move into the midfield. And Manchester United have not agreed on a compensation deal with Newcastle for Dan Ashworth. May have to wait months before they can appoint him as sporting director. Now, what to watch, where to watch it. Also, remember, tonight it is at 7:40 at Macintosh. Druid Hills and Macintosh, non-region action. And Druid Hills and Coach Thomas Bodnar looking for a challenge late in the year. Macintosh ranked 5th nationally in some polls, looking for non-region challenges as well. So the two of them will combine in Peachtree City. Jason and I will be there with you for that one. Coming on a little early, kick at 7:45, so we'll probably come on about 7:40 or so at soccerdownhere.mixler.com and our Mixler site. If you missed it last night, if you missed it any time that technology behaved, you can go back and listen to the matches that we have on the SDH Live platform, and you can catch up with all of them there, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. BN has Copa Libertadores triple header tonight. Atletico Mineiro, Rosario Central at 6, Flamengo Palestino at 8:30, Barcelona Talleres Cordoba at 10. Also simulcast on BN Espanol. If you don't have BN, if you don't have TIC, CDO for the fans, Gold TV, Nuestra Tele, Liga 1 Max. You can get it at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Helps the network out, helps us out, and it helps you out to continue to add to those places where you can be a true degenerate and watch the world's game from all over. That is at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Jason got me addicted. I blame him. PSG and Barca is on big CBS at 3 o'clock. CONCACAF Champions Hemispheric Extravaganza, 8:15 and 10:30. Pachuca Herediano. Pachuca's in control. Monterrey and Inter Miami is the one you've really got to pay attention to at 10:30. BN Espanol simulcasting the Copa Libertadores. Last night, we talked about what happened with Crew winning in PKs. The other one was no contest. New England continued to be blown out, and it was 7-0 at the break. It was not pretty, so New England is out of the Hemispheric Extravaganza. 2 has PSG at 3 on simulcast. They also have Monterrey and Inter Miami at 10:30. Unimas has your simulcast of PSG and Barca. Swansea and Stoke in the championship on the Plus at 3 o'clock. Paramount Plus has both your 3 o'clock matchups, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, PSG, and Barca. Dundee and Rangers in the Scottish Premiership at 3. VIX also, both Champions League matches, and the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza with Pachuca and Herediano at 8:15. That day, man. And Dell, the public service announcement, Battery, top of the Eastern Conference, playing at Indy 11 next. And check out USL Tactics on Twitter to see the tactics Ben Pierman, Danny Cruz used in the matchup. So that's your public service announcement with the USL Championship. And that's a day for us. So once again, thanks to Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves at Scarves and Spikes, letter N. And thanks to ATL Pilgrim for hanging out with us. Thanks to Dylan Butler, the busiest man in the Northeast, with a lot of busy high school lacrosse. He's got a busy high school lacrosse matchup and a big title matchup in New Jersey. But when it comes to matchups and rivalries, I'll give him the Wintersville Classic and a bunch of others that would probably compete just as well. So we got our rivalries. They're all over the place. And thanks to Dylan for joining. Thanks to Tyler for joining. Thanks to U.S. Futsal again and the extended national team for letting us catch up with Rapha Araujo as they're getting ready for the group stage and chasing after a bid in the Futsal World Cup. Great to catch up with them. And it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the U.S. national futsal team in CONCACAF as they're trying to get through the group stage and get to the World Cup. Tomorrow, still chasing guests. Jason will be with us at 9:30, and we'll talk about his week since Dylan is in awe of Jason and the travel plans of him and he and Jessica Charm. We'll talk She Believes too. So we'll talk She Believes, we'll talk Atlanta United, we'll talk Major League Soccer with Jason, we'll talk what happened last week with Atlanta and NYC, we'll talk injuries, we'll talk about Atlanta and Philadelphia coming up on Sunday, and then Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30 for the normal Thursday segment that shows up where we look at things from the Pacific perspective. Chasing guests then in MLS Next Pro. Don't know if that is going to be on Thursday or Friday. And once again, we've got high school every day this week, weather permitting. Tonight we should be okay with McIntosh hosting Druid Hills, 7:40 pregame, 7:45 kick. Tomorrow, St. Pius and Decatur in beautiful downtown Decatur. Looking forward to that one, weather permitting. Supposed to be nasty. We'll keep an eye out, 5:30 and 7:30. And then on Friday, it is Johnson Gainesville at Gainesville at the being renovated City Park, Bobby Gruen Stadium and City Park, Bobby Gruen Field City Park. And so we'll catch up with them as well. We'll see what that's like on Friday. And that is presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente at KP Georgia on the Twitters. And Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you, our presenting sponsor for all the matches of the week. I did the math. And by the time the high school season is over, we will have been at least 35 separate venues, calling about 65 matches on the network by the time we're done. We will have visited some new friends, caught up with some old ones, and followed some nationally ranked teams. But 35 venues, 35 separate broadcasts, 35 venues, about 65 matches before the high school season is over. So very, very busy season for us when it comes to high school here at SDH. Thank you, Del. Thank you, Derek. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us for a Wall Pass Wednesday. It'll go off the rails, and Listen Air is a badass. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. So in a little less than 22 hours, we will let you know what's going on with your Thursday thoughts, bring them all to the table. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Mucha Platial, played safe, and we will catch up with you later today at Macintosh, 7:40 p.m. Druid Hills and Macintosh. Soccer down here. .mixler.com. We'll catch up with you later.